Well, pheasants used to be what deer are in Michigan, what deer are today in Michigan. And as some people may say, pheasants used to be king. And there were times when people in the state of Michigan used to close their stores, close schools on the opening day of pheasant season and stuff. And we would like to see it get back to that way. But more importantly, it's an opportunity for us as Department of Natural Resources to listen to our customers and be able to give them additional opportunities to get outdoors, get out in the woods, and be able to hunt another species and stuff. One of the biggest things it is just the partnership that we have with Pheasants Forever, MUCC, Ducks Unlimited, the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, federal government. It's a kind of a combination of all of the agencies coming together to help bring pheasants back the way it used to be in the state of Michigan.
You know, Michigan really has a rich heritage of pheasant hunting. It at one point, opening day of pheasant season, schools closed down, businesses closed down. There was traffic jams driving up through the Thumb to get up to that really high quality pheasant hunting area. We harvested over 1 million birds a year in Michigan. Back in the 50s, we had 500,000 pheasant hunters in the state. That's obviously dropped. Now we're below 100,000 birds a year on average. But the biggest reason that the birds have changed, it's really a variety of different things. Agriculture has changed drastically. Farming is nothing like what it was back in the 50s. We have large farms, we have large equipment, we have clean fields. It's pretty tough to be a pheasant in that agricultural landscape. Urban sprawl has had a huge impact. If you look back at where our best pheasant hunting was back in the 50s, an awful lot of that is subdivisions now, it's shopping malls and things like that. So we have lost tremendous amounts of habitat to urban sprawl. And then one of the other big things is reforestation. As farmers moved away from farming, or folks bought their little 20-acre paradise, they stopped farming it and it went back into woods. So that increased reforestation has really hurt pheasants. It's helped other wildlife like deer and turkeys have really thrived because of that forest, but that has been a real negative to pheasants.
Well, I think one of the things we've discovered over the years is it's better to work with partners. It makes a bigger reach. One of the things we weren't getting access to was public lands, to really get something in the hands of the public where they could take their children out and have a nice day of pheasant hunting and that. There's a lot of private land we've worked with over the years, but we're really trying to push to get the kids out into the public environments. For me, it was part of my heritage. We grew up down in the Lenawee County area, and back when I was just a little boy, there was a lot of pheasant. It was more of a pheasant camp as opposed to deer camps, and so you'd have Saturdays where the whole family would get together and pheasant hunt, and it just kind of got ingrained. And so it's exciting to see that. It's something I've enjoyed taking my kids on, and with the loss of some of the habitat, and especially access to the public, it's just something that I'd like to see us get those kids out there. I'm afraid if we don't, we might lose a generation of kids that might enjoy the pheasant hunting.
Well, the Pheasant Initiative is important for a lot of reasons. One of them is hunter retention and recruitment. You know, if you look at deer hunting, well, we drop 1% or 2% every year. It's not that big a decline. But if you look at small game hunters, we've lost 50% in the last decade. So pheasants become very important to us. We need to recreate, reestablish, and nourish small game hunting in the state of Michigan. That's one piece. Another piece that's equally important is that this is a true partnership between the DNR and MUCC, Pheasants Forever, Ducks Unlimited, host of groups, Michigan State University, and the point here is that all of these groups are equal. All of them have an interest in a stake in this. Together, we're trying to do something different. And finally, something very different for us, we're asking volunteers to become true partners in this effort so that they get out and work shoulder to shoulder with us in the field, not only on public land, but on private land, all of us working together to do something for pheasants.
Creating pheasant habitat, really the goal, the number one thing that we need to do is restore nesting cover. Large blocks of nesting cover, like we're doing here at the Maple River State Game Area. The bigger the block of habitat, the bigger the impact we're going to have. So our key is nesting cover. The second most important thing is winter cover. You know, they're not a migratory bird, so we need habitat in the winter. So things like restoring wetlands, planting large blocks of switchgrass, create great winter cover. And then once we have all of our cover, our third thing is winter food. And that tends to be where most landowners want to focus, but it's really not the most important thing. For the real bad winters, it really helps the birds. But most years, they're not that important, but they are part of the recipe, so we need to address that.
Behind me are autumn olive bushes, invasive species that really aren't going to benefit pheasants.
Off to my left, however, is native grassland that will benefit pheasants. It provides nesting cover, winter habitat, great place for insects for young pheasants to eat, and shelter year-round.
Yeah, if you're a landowner, you could get a lot of rewards by getting involved in this program. Not the least of which is having more pheasants on your land, which many people find to be very attractive birds, whether they hunt them or not. They just like to see pheasants. We know that that's a priority for a lot of landowners. In addition to that, providing that habitat is going to provide some other conservation benefits like water quality and certainly habitat for other wildlife that also use those same types of habitats that pheasants do. Well, certainly from a grassland standpoint, we know that grassland songbirds have been declining over the long term in addition to pheasants. And species like bobolinks and certain types of sparrows that nest in grassland habitats are going to benefit from this program. From a wetland standpoint, we know we've lost about half of the wetlands in our state, and providing that wetland habitat that's going to provide winter habitat for pheasants is also going to provide habitats for waterfowl, wading birds, and things like that have declined.
The people we're trying to, the professional assistants that we're trying to focus you to are the soil conservation districts in these 3 pilot areas. And they have people who can help you sign up, help you determine what other programs are available. If it's something through Pheasants Forever, something through Ducks Unlimited, something through the federal government, done some of the Farm Bill programs through the Department of Natural Resources, the Turkey Federation, to match you up with someone that can help you do the things you want to do for pheasants as part of the whole big picture for the initiative.
Well, one of the great things about the Pheasant Initiative is we have a whole lot of partners. It's not just the DNR, it's not just Pheasants Forever. There's a lot of partners that are really interested in this. So your first step may be to contact the DNR, contact your local biologist to see what type of help they can provide. You want to contact your local USDA office. There's great programs that will help plant grasslands and lots of other wildlife-friendly things, and they provide cost share. They provide some of them up to 100%, some a little bit less. It depends on the program. You want to work with your local Pheasants Forever chapters. They obviously have a tremendous interest in this initiative. Pheasants Forever chapters can provide seed, they can provide equipment in some cases, lots of the technical knowledge. A lot of the volunteers in the state really know how to plant this seeding, effectively get it in the ground. So those are kind of the main partners you want to start with. I kind of look at the districts as they're kind of that go-to organization in the county that they kind of do it all. They're involved with the conservation, whether it's the type of grassland plantings we're doing here, tree plantings. Most of the districts sell trees. They're kind of a great first place to contact, to get information, to find out about programs, get led in the direction of partners. If you don't know how to get a hold of a conservation organization, they probably know at that local district. Plus they know the USDA and the DNR programs as well. So they're a really great partner in this whole initiative.
Well, NRCS is supportive of wildlife habitat through our Wildlife Habitat Incentives Program, and we got involved with the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative and secured some funding through that initiative to set aside for the Pheasant Restoration Initiative, and it's money that's set aside, so applications for the Pheasant Restoration Initiative will only compete against other applications. It's part of the, it fits real nicely with the Chief's initiatives for having dedicated funding and having like applications compete against like applications, so it fits really nicely with the philosophy of the 2008 Farm Bill.
Fish and Wildlife Service, through our Partners for Fish and Wildlife program, we can offer landowners assistance in taking that old field, taking that overgrown automotive field that they'll see on some of these DNR areas like they cleaned up today, and we can help get that site cleaned up and restore it back to a native grassland. Well, initially, like I say, the biggest thing was to break that shrub canopy down, and what we're doing is we're breaking up that old cool season sod grass, putting in that warm season clump grass so the wildlife can scoot through, and then they're going to see a slow progression. It's not going to look pretty at first, but in 4 or 5 years, and then the habitat will respond, they'll be amazed at what they see, what blooms. Well, like for the Fish and Wildlife Service, the Pheasant Initiative is a great thing. This is a great thing for hunters and all that. But as a federal agency, what we're really interested in is migratory birds. And this Grassland Initiative, this Pheasant Initiative will not only benefit pheasants, but a lot of migratory songbirds from you know, a lot of the grassland bobolinks, various birds like that. And adjacent to the natural wetlands and restored wetlands that we do on private lands, we'll have waterfowl nesting habitat. So basically, what we do here is we're going to make huge areas of grassland. So the biggest benefit is going to be our grassland nesting birds, but waterfowl, deer, turkey, and again, bring back that pheasant, restore that hunting heritage that Michigan has always had.
So the idea of the landowner co-ops is to make that difference, make the landscape in an area change. Now the state game areas can serve as a great starting point. I kind of look at this as a hub and a spoke. State game area like Maple River or Verona can serve as a great hub to start our habitat, and then we need to go to the private lands around it to build on it and make that larger change in the actual landscape. And when we accomplish that, that's when we will really impact pheasants. It is that local feel. It is neighbors helping neighbors. I'm kind of a believer that if some of the agency folks knock on your door and say, you know, we're from the government, we're here to help, it may or may not be received very well. But when the neighbor knocks on the door and says, hey, Jim, we're really interested in pheasants in the neighborhood. We want to make a difference. Can you help? Are you interested? That's how it's going to work. That's how we will change the landscape, and when we change that landscape, we will see the result in the pheasants. The deer co-ops are a great example for us to follow. They have made huge impacts on properly managing deer around the state, and they've really made that fundamental change for folks that maybe didn't want to harvest does in the past, but now through the education of the co-ops, people are now managing deer in much better ways. And we're talking to the deer co-ops, and we're hoping that those co-ops can help us start a pheasant co-op. Or maybe they're the same thing. Maybe the deer co-op and the pheasant co-op are one and the same, because, you know, most landowners, they're not only interested in one species of wildlife. They may love pheasants, but they deer hunt too, or vice versa. Most folks are not entirely focused on one species. So I think working with the deer co-ops, the pheasant co-ops, we're going to be really successful.
This winter, we developed a plan in cooperation with Pheasants Forever. It was us and the Pheasants Forever biologist, along with our research specialist, Dave Luukkonen. We sat down and developed a plan. And that plan included planting a variety of different grasslands, how much food plots to plant, doing some wetland restorations, and trying to figure out how to put them all on the ground together that would best benefit the pheasant. So we did a lot of planning this winter. And then right now, as you can see behind you, as we're getting into the planting part. And so we had to convert some old grasslands and turn it into different types of grasslands, and we're converting some crop ground into grasslands. So right now we're right in the middle of that implementation process.
The foundation of the initiative is to get people locally involved. And we can do that through, you know, neighbors working with neighbors. I mean, think of neighborhood watches or any of these other programs that have been very successful because the neighbor is talking to the neighbor, someone that they know, someone that they trust, to say, let's go forward and do this program. And that's much easier to have programs work in that fashion than to have, you know, the government say it's mandatory that you have to do this or any of that. It's where people do what they want to do, working with people they trust, get things done on the ground. And that's what the initiative is about.
This is what we're all about, doing this sort of habitat restoration. We've done this on our home farms, but we needed to do it on a bigger platform like we're doing here today. And this is going to make a huge difference if we can get this rolling throughout the state. Absolutely. This is exciting because this is why we work so hard to raise the money to put the seed in the ground. I hope it gets. I hope it becomes infective. I hope that the whole state just takes it up like a wildfire and it just rushes right through, and we plant a lot more. Clinton County is only just a few miles away from us from here. I hunt this. A lot of our fellow chapter members come up here and hunt this. There's property that's probably going to be available someday on the south side of Maple River over here. So we're hoping that this is just a start. It's just a seed, and it spreads. And it spreads throughout the whole state. So we're close enough we can take advantage of it. And great opportunity for our young kids. Get out here and hunt like you and I did when we were a kid.